Hey, hello. Welcome to Fire Engineering Hump Day Hangout. My name is Ricky Riley, the president of Traditions Training, and we got a pretty special show today. My partners at the International Society of Fire Service Instructors have just taken the month off since they helped us out here the last couple months. So I've solicited some great friends, people I've known for a long time that are with a great fire company to help us out with this. So today, we want to talk about, training in a combination fire service. And I belong to a large combination department, but what I thought about was more interesting was, the smaller combination departments that, predominantly volunteer and then have a career staff that's on board. So I wanted to be able to get some good friends on and have them talk about their unique situation. They are from the gentleman that you see are from the Christiana Fire Company in Newcastle County, Delaware. If you've paid attention to anything that Traditions does or any of our shows, you know how highly we speak of Newcastle County, Delaware, and that all the fire departments there, and our relationship with them goes back many, many, many years. One of our very first classes was with Christiana Fire Company when Brian Reeder was the chief there. So obviously we have a lot of good friends there, and we want to make sure that they get their message out because it's a really good fire company, and they got a really good thing going there. So. But let everybody introduce themselves. Kevin, why don't you introduce yourself, tell everybody about it, and then we'll go to Kevin and then to Jack.
I'm Kevin Cowperthwait, and I'm chief of the department. I've been in Christiana for about 20 years. Grew up in New Jersey, came through that system for a while, and then moved to Delaware and joined Christiana. So I've been chief about 4 years now.
I'm Kevin Seminelli. I currently serve as one of the deputy chiefs of Christiana. Been with the company for 14 years. I grew up in the area, joined when I was 18. Currently serve as deputy chief. This is my second year going into my third. I was assistant chief previously, and I'm overseeing the training and the volunteer staffing side of it.
Is it my turn?
Yeah. Yep.
Jack McPartland. I've been with Christiana for about 15 years. Served as a full-time firefighter in the county for quite a few years. Before that, I was a Baltimore cop. We won't talk about that. And then I moved on to become a Philadelphia firefighter. And I currently serve as assistant chief of operations at Station 12.
15 years for Jack on. Now, that really makes me feel old.
15 years. Almost 16.
So Kevin, you can obviously have Kevin or Jack obviously chime in, but tell us a little bit about Christiana, its makeup, its response area, and all that sort of stuff. So everybody kind of understands.
So Christiana is we're in an unincorporated Newcastle County, so we're not under a city or a jurisdiction per se, and we're not funded that way. So we have we're a 501c3 that's governed by a board of directors. And we protect, like I said, unincorporated Newcastle County, which has a lot of, for our area, it's townhouses, private homes, apartment buildings. We have the only level 1 trauma center in the state, the largest shopping mall in the state. It's about 100,000 people in 38 square miles, but we have a robust automatic aid system. So we travel, there's our neighboring district, which is Etna Fire Company, Etna Hose, Hook and Ladder of Newark. They have the University of Delaware. They have another 100,000 people in their district and about another 39 square miles. So we run all first due there, or second due, their first due. Obviously, we're second due. So it's a huge area that we cover. We probably cover 225,000 people in for all the automatic aids area that we run in. And it's a diverse population. Like I said, different housing stock. We have trailers, houses, townhouses, apartments. So we run on many different things. And we're funded by grant and aid. So the state gives us some money. The county gives us some money. And a lot of our money comes from EMS billing. We provide EMS service, just BLS. The county provides ALS service. And we provide fire protection for that area and our surrounding automatic aid areas. We have, 31 career folks, 20 of which are fire and EMTs, another 8 are EMTs only that are on the ambulance. We have another about 30 or 40 part-time EMS staff. We have about 4 to 5 ambulances up, depending on the time of day, every day. Always an engine and truck staff, 24/7. One a career assistant chief, full-time mechanic, and a full-time administrator. So that's kind of the overview. We're in a large area as far as response. It takes us a while to get some places because we go some distance, but that's kind of the general overview of the department.
And what's the call volume now in?
We do about 11,000 EMS runs. We did over. I just was looking at the stats today because I was just doing in November, catching up. We're going to be over 11,000 EMS runs this year and over 4,000 fire runs this year. And some of that's a little, so like a ambulance gets there, it has a large patient, needs an engine to help them lift. That'll count on both sides of the ticket. That'll be EMS run plus a fire run. A car wreck will be on both sides of the ticket. That'll count as an EMS run and a fire run. So it's a little less than that when you do if you're doing the total, but the apparatus goes to 4,000 runs and the EMS units go over 11,000 runs.
Busy. Well, either way,
Busy. It's
way
steady.
you look
Yes.
at it, one way or the other.
It's
So,
steady.
believe me, if you're out there in the listening in the internet scanner world, if you want to listen to a good internet scanners, listen to Newcastle County because they definitely go up and down the road a little bit. So,
yeah.
Kevin, I mean, what year did you start in Christiana?
I started in 2000, but I joined the fire service I just finished my 40th year. So the first Wednesday in November 1981, I joined Pennsville Fire and Rescue in New Jersey. So this is my 40th year this year, just hit last month.
And you joined the fire service and you were 42, so that only makes you 42.
Right, yeah.
42 years old. Yeah.
I'm 40
Looking
years
pretty
old.
good.
Right. I joined when I was 6,
Yeah,
because my dad was
exactly.
chief. So
So I mean, we're going to get to how your fire service operates now. So, but I mean, obviously, you and I go back a long ways. Probably when you first joined Christiana, and when you're coming to Kenland every once in a while. But I mean, obviously, how the fire service at Christiana and Newcastle County has changed in the last 15 to 20 years. I mean, what are some of the big changes we've seen in the Newcastle County Fire Service? Because I guess what everybody needs to understand is that Christiana is one of how many companies in the county? I'm sorry if somebody knows that.
20 other. So it's 21 total.
And all of them operate in the same mode that you do with the unincorporated areas, not funded.
They're a little couple different. So like the city of Newark gets a little bit of money from the city of Newark, but they're not governed by the city of Newark. Wilmington Fire Department's a fully career department in the city of Wilmington. But then everybody else essentially operates as we do. Yes. So that's everybody's solidly combination. So there's career staff in each department. 9 out of 10 departments, the career staff hops on the apparatus. So they could be on the ambulance if there's an EMS run, and then they cross the floor for the engine if there's a fire run. So that's majority of the departments. I'll have one crew that's up during the day, during the evening, pretty much too. And then there's other companies that maybe have one-on-one staffed, more than that. So it's like I said, solidly combination. Each department has career staff. There's some career supervisors out there, some career assistant chiefs out there. Some companies have hired, but essentially we all run together, and each company only counts for 1 or 2 pieces of apparatus on a run card. So you essentially get 4 departments on every box alarm. And then there's a standard SOP that each company goes by that's county approved through our Fire Chiefs Association. But to get back to your question, so I was kind of like getting off track a little bit. Early days, we had obviously less career staff. I think we outsourced our training to the fire school, so the Delaware State Fire School, in that you get your training, you come back, here's your helmet, here's your SCBA, good luck, hop on the apparatus. And we're kind of very, very different from that now. We were home response back then with a couple career guys in the firehouse. So they would wait for the guys to come from home, and then we would go. There was a lot more failures as far as we would have an accident and just no piece of apparatus would even go. It would just be an ambulance would go. And we'd even be failing on fire alarms and things like that. So as time progressed, we got to the point where we staffed in this fire station so there's no home response currently right now. You're either in the firehouse or you're not. We keep track of staffing on a group me. So hey, if you're coming into the firehouse, say I'll be in today from 2:00 till next Wednesday, or 24 hours or whatever that would be. And that's how we keep track of staffing. And then we have the career guys in there mixed to keep the apparatus staffed. But from the days of old, we're a very different system from what we are right now. It would just be each individual company would have their own SOP, how they were going to run and handle fires. And you would have to adapt to that depending on where you're going. And as I said, it was home response. So middle of the night, nobody's come up for a fire alarm. Everybody knows how that is. The car fires, nobody's come up for in the middle of the night. So the career guys will be running out, by themselves. But that's all changed now. So we've kind of done away with home response. And like I said, we're in the firehouse now. So if you're not there, you're essentially not going unless we do a working fire. We'll get a little bit of backfill.
But the career personnel are employed by the Christiana Fire Company.
Yeah, so they're my employees as far as being the fire chief. They work for me. And they, as you said, they're an employee of the Christiana Fire Company, paid for by the Christiana Fire Company. And then we just get reimbursements from the state. So there's no state, county, city involvement as far as with their IFF, we negotiate the contract with them. Each year they're in a local for the whole county. The whole county's one local. And we negotiate, the Christiana Fire Company negotiates with our guys for their local, for their contract. And then we now have 8 full-time EMS staff too, that are full-time employees that are dedicated to riding the ambulance 2 a day. So they're not IFF obviously right now, but same boat where they're employees of Christiana Fire Company.
Okay, so I mean, Kevin, we're just trying to lay some groundwork here till we get to this training port where we're going to get Kevin and Jack to chime in. But I think it's when was this big shift from the all volunteer like fire, not like all volunteer, but where it was more of a volunteer fire department to where now we have career guys riding the engine pretty much every day. Went from they were just EMS to now they're riding fire trucks for you. And
probably about 10 years ago, we started to make the shift where we Jack got in as a assistant chief several years ago and really made the dedication to, hey, we're going to get one engine staffed 24/7. Because we just didn't have that commitment before that one engine was going to be staffed. So then we made that commitment that one engine is going to be staffed. So we started using the career staff, started having guys stay in the firehouse, which was a challenge because the road didn't have anywhere to sleep. So guys are sleeping in chairs and, all kind of crazy things. But we finally just made that dedication maybe about 8 to 10 years ago where we're going to have a staffed engine. And then I was deputy chief at the time, but we had an incident where the engine responded, the truck wasn't staffed, fire in a private dwelling. I wasn't responding as the chief, but I was listening, and the engine was up above the fire on the 2nd floor, and the fire was on the 1st floor. And you know how you're listening to those radios, transmissions. Sometimes you're like, this isn't going to go well. There's a problem that could happen very easily here. So everybody's ears are perked up. I started to respond because it sounded like it was going south, and they recovered. The truck got in, they recovered, ended up moving the line downstairs. Everything worked out fine. Nobody got hurt. But from that point forward, I'm like, we really need to dedicate to have the truck staffed. We just can't take this chance that the engine's in alone. There's, the next in company is a few minutes out. They're above a fire. They don't know it because the engine officer searching for the fire. And so that was a turning point maybe 4 years ago or so where we said, hey, we really need to get this truck staffed. So then we hired extra people. We got up to our firefighter EMTs are up to 20 guys now. So 5 a shift. Back then it was 4 a shift. And then we just kept making that forward progress to get the truck staff 24/7. So that was a real big changing point. So overall, I'd say eight or so years ago, where we finally made the commitment, hey, we're going to have an engine staff 24/7. And now we're to the point where the engine and truck are staffed 24/7. But it was it's just like anything. You get one of those incidents like this isn't going to go well, and I don't want to be responsible or sit at home at night, very, very sad because one of my guys got injured or killed. So that was a real big changing point for that we made that change.
is Jack upside down, or is it just my imagination?
I don't know.
Jack, you're not helping yourself here,
Yeah.
I'm supposed to pretend like you're grown up, Jack. So, so Kevin, I just once again, just to lay some of that foundation. So where does all your funding come for your career people? I know you briefly mentioned it before, but just want to make sure I got that question out. So
we get what's called grant and aid from the state. So we get about $800,000 from the state. And then we get money from the county, which is a lot less, which saves same thing, grant and aid. They send you a check twice a year. We get this thing called ticket money where they write violations, and we get a portion of that depending on our EMS volume. And we get some donations. And then our biggest income source is EMS billing. which is a real difficult situation because if leadership isn't geared towards providing service, sometimes it gets to the point like, hey, we make money with the ambulances. Let's keep the ambulances staffed. The fire trucks, yeah, we don't make any money from them. So, hey, if they get out, that's great. But if not, oh, well. And you really have to have some gumption as a leader to say, hey, no, the fire service is just as important as the EMS side. The EMS side is important, but it can't just be driven by money. And a lot of times, because most of the companies here are funded by EMS billing, it really towards this drift in that direction that EMS, keeping ambulances staffed is way more important than keeping anything else staffed. And they're both important, but it's just one of those, it's a real balance to do that, because that's what our majority of our funding comes from. So EMS billing is our main income source by far.
Yeah, $800,000 is not going to go far for a career firefighter. So
No,
you want to
no.
staff ambulances, engine, and truck. So
Yep.
So who wants? I'll go to either Jack or Kevin. So what is the minimum requirement to be training wise to be a career firefighter in Christiana?
I'll answer that. So most of our applicants, I would say a good majority are actually out-of-state applicants. The good thing about that is the out-of-state fire requirements, particularly in New Jersey, are at a higher level than what is required by the state of Delaware by most fire companies on a standard. So as the chief said earlier, we are an independent company per se. Our training standard is set, in policy that the bare minimum is structural firefighting, basic firefighting, vehicle rescue, a hazmat response class. In total, it's about 100 hours of training, which really isn't too much. What we're seeing in applicants we're getting most of the time have a good majority more than that. So they're most of the time meeting the training standard for an applicant. As far as getting hired, we do have systems that we've kind of put into place. So we've had times where we've had large groups of applicants come in. When we hired 8, I believe it was in 2016, we had everyone come in and perform certain tasks. They climbed ladders, they threw ladders, they I think advanced hose line, pulled hose lines, flowed, things like that. That's not for every class that we do. The most recent hiring we did, we had some people perform mostly tabletop discussions about tactical decisions they would make as a firefighter. Just some, problems that they may encounter on the fire ground and how they would overcome those problems. And then we put all of them through, and we'll get into it, a very similar process to what we put our new volunteer members through, which is the rookie school. The most recent hire actually went through our rookie school in, I believe it was October. We ran one. Or no, was it August? It was August. He went through that, but if we don't have one lined up, we will put them through. It takes about 2 to 3 days to make them fully comfortable. We have evaluations that we run annually with all of our volunteer members, and they essentially go through the evaluations for the hands-on portion of training. And if they pass everything, then, they're clear. But if they don't pass everything, we have to get them to a point where they are. So, but for the most part, we have a lot of confidence in their training when they do come in. So if they're not given that hands-on portion from the start, we just really hope that they're going to be able to pass it.
So that kind of leads, we've talked about, you said about the fire stuff. So, but obviously, knowing Kevin's background, we won't say that he was a paramedic or anything, but
yeah, guilty.
Is it, so what is the EMS requirement to be a career person or a volunteer? And then what are the continuing education requirements that are the responsibility of the fire department?
So we've kind of went away from, we don't have any volunteer EMS anymore. We're all career EMS.
Okay.
And we have we did a couple years ago, we did a cooperative effort with the University of Delaware. So the University of Delaware had students that were trying to become PAs or doctors, and they needed patient contacts. So my wife actually works for the University of Delaware. So she said she was having this problem where they couldn't get the students in, to get enough patient contacts. They're going to nursing home hospitals and all that. So we had a cooperative effort with them where they came to the firehouse. We trained them to be EMTs. One of our captains, Shane Truitt, put on a 1-month EMT class. got their national registry, got their EMT, and then they go into the FTO process. So we have our employees, FTO, the EMTs, and then they become part-time employees if they pass everything. So we had that's been ongoing for the past probably 3 or 4 years now, where we get these University of Delaware students who are very sharp individuals because they're trying to get to PA school, they're trying to become doctors. They get the patient contact, so they get a lot of experience doing 11,000 runs, seeing, people shot, maternities, all kinds of crazy things that it's out there in the EMS world. And we help them get their contacts. They help us by staffing our ambulances, and it's kind of a win-win situation for both individuals, for the organization, for us, and for them. And then continuing ed is just through the state. It's 40 hours, I believe. Every 2 years, you have to go through a class to get your continuing ed, pass a protocols test. Everybody in the state has to do that to keep their EMT, and that's how they're recertified every year. And then we do, training-wise for EMS, we do a daily drill every day. Sometimes it's not, most of the time it's fire, but there are EMS classes we do every day. So the shift commander, as far as the captain, lieutenant, or the volunteer officer that's in the firehouse, will do a training every day. So we try to keep them up on what's going on every day, as far as, or not keep them up on, but we just do a training class every day. So they try to keep them sharp on that kind of stuff.
Okay, so I got a question from the internet world before we go on to this training piece, is that if the engine and the truck are staffed with career people, where do the volunteer firefighters drive?
There's a riding board made up every day. So in the morning at about 7 o'clock, when the career guys are coming in, the shift, whoever's the ranking officer in the firehouse, makes up the riding board, and that's the riding board. And as people leave and fluctuate in, they're put into different riding positions. I didn't really cover it, but we're very, very strict on our riding positions. So we have, each person has a spot as far as officer, driver. We call it can on a truck. We have a position bar, we have a position OV. So everybody's riding at a specific position every day. And that board is how we manage that. So they're not necessarily, the career guys aren't necessarily in every spot. They're just imagine whoever's running the board that day takes a look at the board and says, I need a driver, I need an officer, I need a can guy, I need a bar guy. And he plugs in who's qualified, because just because you're in the department and you went through rookie school and passed everything doesn't mean you're qualified to ride OV. You may not be qualified to ride OV. You may not be qualified to ride the truck. So it just depends on what your qualifications are, and that officer's taking a look and plugging those people in each day as far as where they can ride and what they can do.
Okay, so I'm sure we'll get back to some of this, but so the intriguing part that I think that really spurred the conversation, or why I wanted to do it, is that obviously if you don't follow Christiana Fire Company on social media, it's probably a good thing. They do put out a lot of good content. But one of the things they started was this recruit school, for lack of a better term. So who wants to take that one on, when this started, how it all came to be, and all that? So who's taking that one?
I've been talking too much. Somebody else.
I'll take it. So recruit school technically started under Chief Perillo when he took our brand new fire service members and did a 6-weekend training with them to make sure when they went to fire school, they were completely prepared for everything they may come in contact with. That was his way of not leaving our brand new people in the dark, because at that point we started having a big influx of experienced members joining the company. In 2015, I took over essentially as the intake leader for all the new members coming in from various departments all over the region. And we didn't really have a set standard for them. A lot of people would come in, and a big problem that we were facing was expectations. People were coming in and they just, they weren't sure what they were supposed to be doing, where they were supposed to be going, the ins and outs of riding assignments, which were set at that time. So January 2016, we hosted our first official rookie school for these experienced people. Since then, I believe we run a total of 9. And we've put over 200 some people in. Unfortunately, our retention's not where we want it to be. We've made some changes on the retention part of it, but a big thing we wanted to make sure we covered in the rookie school was our riding assignments, our operations, mainly on a county level, just because we have the arrival assignments, what each company's supposed to do when they get there. And the big part was the expectations, the in-station behavior, which is expected of you. Every firehouse is different. You know, a lot of people say, you know, it's a firehouse. Culture might be different at each place that you're a part of. So we just wanted to make sure people coming in understood what the culture was. So another adjustment we made for that was we started our ride-along program, which requires someone to complete 3 ride-alongs with us before they can join, because we want them to show up, know what the culture is, know what the environment is, know what the expectations are, and to see if they will be okay doing it. But not only that, are they okay driving from wherever they're coming from? We have people that drive from Connecticut, Massachusetts, you know, North Jersey, New York. When someone just puts an application in without ever stepping foot in the building, and they drive down for their interview night, and they're like, man, that was a long ride. And then they come back 2 weeks later for the company meeting where they have to drive, like, man, that was a long ride. And then they go through rookie school and they're like, man, I'm tired of driving here. You know, if they have to do that 3 times before they even join and they get an idea that, yeah, that's just too much driving back and forth, then, you know, it eliminates us having to lose another person that we took our time out to train.
It
Yeah, we
sounds
did switch
blunt,
that.
but
I'm sorry.
I was gonna say it sounds blunt, but you know, it's kind of like before we waste our time building you up, make sure that, you know, we're gonna get the return. Is exactly what it kind of is.
So,
And
man,
so
I
we
think,
switched that a couple years ago where we do the 3 ride-alongs. So if somebody wants to join, we have them ride along. They have to be dressed appropriately. They're not allowed to stay overnight. So that's another commitment. If you're driving down from upstate New York, and, you know, some of them get a hotel and just hang out at a hotel for the night and then hop over in the morning. But we did that 3 ride-along to try to eliminate some of these guys that were joining. Then we get in the door, go through all the rookie school and all that, and end up leaving. It's like, you know, this isn't for me. So we're just trying to have, you know, let's not waste your time. Let's not waste our time. Let's just get these 3 ride-alongs, see if you like the culture of the department, see if you like how we operate, and then move on from there. And then just a little on the career side, just to touch on that a little bit. We're a little unique in the fact that we're expecting when people apply to us that they're already trained. So we have a list of things you need to be qualified on before you even apply. So we're a little different in that nature, that we're just not just picking up people and then we send them to an academy and get them trained. So we're a little bit unique in that way, that we already hire and train people, and then we just put them through our process so that we know that, hey, if you're riding the bar, this is what expected. If you're riding nozzle, this is what is expected. Then they have to be qualified in order to do all that.
so I think Kevin or Jack can answer this. I mean, so you said that Chief Perillo started and it was 6 weekends. So what is it? What is the current configuration of this recruit school?
As it stands now, it's a Friday night, which is about 4 to 5 hours. And that night it's all in the classroom. It's an introduction to the company, the operations, and, you know, the officers, as well as gear issuance for any people who may need gear for the weekend. Saturday is a day of set out now of fire operations. So it's all, you know, they learn the Friday night, they learn about all the assignments and the apparatus and everything. Saturday is practicing all that in the morning part, and then the afternoon is a lot of box alarm drills. So they're pulling up, forcing doors, they're doing searches, they're pulling lines, they're flowing water. And then Sunday is we do a portion on Red Day and vehicle rescue, and we usually bring cars in, and they usually cut 3 to 4 cars depending on how many people we have. You know, if it's a small group, it might just be 2 cars, but the last big class we did had I think 4 cars out there, because I think it was upwards towards 30 people. So.
And Ricky, Chief Haley comes in and does the RIP portion. So some of you may know, to watch the program, that Chief Haley was involved in a Mayday in the Wilmington Fire Department, where there was 3 line of duty deaths. So he has a great program he puts on for our recruits, and gives a good talk on that.
Nobody knows who Haley is. It's Caesar.
Caesar, Eric Haley,
So,
the legend.
yes. So Jack, I'll give Kevin a break on some of this. So how does the process work? So I've applied, I got my 3 ride-alongs. I get voted into the company. Then how do I actually get to ride a Christiana fire truck and how, I guess that's question one, and I'll repeat it if you forget it, which I do all the time. And, the second is how frequent do we run the recruit schools?
So we're trying to run a recruit school, just get that out of the way, about 4 times a year.
Okay.
That's our target. And what happens is, like you said, you apply, you do your 3 ride-alongs. You kind of decide whether, it's good for you or not. We have people that don't even show up to recruit school. We then stay in contact with everybody email-wise. We send them the email, okay, this is the date, we're going to bring you in. We understand people work, so we work around people like, hey, let us know what you can, like what you can make. Obviously, if you can't make the whole thing, then we have issues, but we try and get you up to speed if you're missing a couple hours or something like that. Then by the end of that weekend, we have evaluators that follow each person through the skills the entire weekend. And it's a very quick, it's like a we're getting to know you, you're getting to know us type thing. If somebody walks up to the forcible entry prop and they're spinning the Halligan bar around like it's a wheel on a car, we know that maybe this person needs a little bit more work on the truck company side of things, and that's okay. So once they're done, there's actually a list that gets put out as far as what you can ride. You won't leave there knowing what you can or cannot ride. We're not crazy strict or anything like that, but we want to get people to where we're comfortable with them and they're comfortable in each one of the riding positions. Everything is based around the riding position. So we're going to base it around, we are very good. We put the newer guys on the nozzle, things like that. We want to get people experience, but you may get only cleared to do, you may not get cleared to wear a mask. You may get cleared to be just engine only. You're moving on to the ladder type thing. You may get cleared to ride ladder. But as far as our outside vent position, we put a lot of stock in that. No one gets cleared after recruit school for that position. So you'll know coming out of recruit school what you can or cannot ride right off the bat. And then it's up to that person. There's a lot of people that continue to move through it quicker and get OV qualified. And the next thing you know, they're driving the engine. Next thing you know, they're driving the ladders. They're a company officer, all those things. Or you have people where they never end up putting the time in. And we're a demanding organization. So we expect the return. So,
Hey, Jack, can you cover numbers? Getting the numbers?
Oh, yeah. So it's been pretty subjective forever. But we have a shield program. So basically, besides a company officer, a firefighter, it starts once they're done recruit school and they're cleared to wear an air pack, they wear a blank shield. The program's pretty subjective. We eventually give you your numbers. It normally takes on average about maybe 6 months is a good ballpark number. You have to show commitment. You have to show that you're proficient in all positions. We like you to have your OV before we give you your numbers. We understand it takes people longer, but it's kind of like the whole well-rounded thing. Are you still doing things in the firehouse that you're supposed to do? Are you still showing up? Are you still doing your part, basically? And once we feel that you're ready, you've gone to a couple fires, you've done well, we give you your numbers, which we actually try and make a big deal. And from the feedback from the people who do earn their numbers, they really like the program. They say it's a great thing. And, it feels good to earn something rather than just walk in and hear everything's given to you. I think you have a lot more respect for it in the long run. But there isn't one single person in the building who has numbers on their helmet who will not go inside and put out a fire. Like, we don't have people's gear hanging on the wall because, that guy was here 10 years ago and he did a lot. We appreciate everything that everyone's ever done for us, but we don't have time. We have to go. We need firemen. We need to move on. So that's definitely one of the difference from top to bottom. The firemen that pretty much are on the wheel. They're steering the ship. We need firemen. There's a lot of places in the country they'll turn around and they'll say, hey, listen, we even need somebody to answer the door and grab packages during the day. And I love the American Fire Service, and I agree with that wholeheartedly. That's not us. We need firemen, plain and simple. So there's not anybody on the career side or the volunteer side that's not a fireman. And if you come in the door and you're lacking, we'll make you one. So it's a good program. It's worked out well.
So I guess that kind of begs the question. I'm sure that would probably be a Kevin or I mean, obviously Jackson. I keep forgetting how old he is now. Is that so? I mean, this program that you have now seems to be you're able to do what you're able to do what you're doing because you're able to put these people in their areas of responsibility because you have a fully staffed engine and a truck. with career people. So I mean, that isn't like if you walked in and it was like an all, if it was all volunteer and you had to put people on rigs, that's a different. I assume there's still departments in your area that do that. I would assume.
There is. Yeah, there is for sure. And a lot of the departments, it's, our gear is on the rig. I mean, it's no different than walking into a career firehouse. Your gear's on your rig. You're checking your tools for the day. There's guys that are grinding the tools down in the back. They're checking their air packs. They're starting the saws. They're going over things, talking about what the day's going to be. Hey, what are we going to do for lunch today? I mean, it really is like being in a real firehouse. We still have departments, where they might only have 3 guys in the building. So they keep their gear at their lockers, and it's like, hey, are you driving? Do you want to drive? Do you want to ride up front? And honestly, that a lot of that cuts out on our time getting out the door. I mean, we're going in that sense. We shop for meals in the fire truck. We go out in the fire truck. It's never like we never tell one person, hey, go run out in your car, because we know they're going to miss a run, let alone a fire. So it's very, very programmed to where, okay, if I'm riding a certain position for the day, I'm checking everything in that position. I know what my job is. And if I'm confused, I may say to the officer, hey, when I'm this or that, what do you prefer? Hey, I just like this. It's a good communication thing. So I like to talk to the guys if I'm the company officer for today. Hey, listen, this is what I like. This is when I want you to stretch. This is when I don't want you to stretch. We all have our little knickknacks or little niches, but for the most part, we're all pretty much straight across the board. So.
And I have some experience in that, Ricky, with, so when I was, like I said, I grew up in Pennsville, New Jersey. I don't know if I said what town it was, but I grew up in Pennsville, New Jersey. So it was a small town. It's probably, 13,000 people. And I was a chief in Pennsville Fire and Rescue for 5 years over there. And we had the same thing. We had riding assignments. So there was there was a nozzle position, there was a backup position. We had a rescue truck at the time that we ran as the truck company. And there was an OV spot. And the only thing, so we had guys coming from home and they would hop in those spots. So the way we handled it was we had we call it a shield program, where if you're qualified, you got a black shield. If you did X amount of training and we were confident that you were able to do OV kind of thing, then you got a red shield. And then at the highest level was a blue shield. And it just had our number was 5. So this was a little blue 5 if you had blue, and a little red 5 if you had red in the shield. And the guys would just know. So if I was responding from home and I was a black shield and I wasn't allowed to ride OV, I just wouldn't get in that spot. I would get in whatever spot I was qualified to do. And it was a little more loosely managed because, like I said, we're way more dialed in Christiana than we were back then in Pennsville. But we're still able to pull it off. We still had the riding assignments, who did what tools you carried, what your job was for each spot. So, and like I said, we're a little more dialed in on Christiana as far as doing it, because we got guys in the building and we're going over each spot. So I'll see on the daily training stuff. We did OV training today, went out for an hour, and we threw ladders, talked about VES and that kind of thing. And it really dials in our training too, because now I can, as far as training a person, I know what's my bar guy need to focus on, what's his job. The bar's job is to, and we call it bar, it's forcible entry spot for us, but his main purpose is forcing doors and searching. So those two skills I can hone in on for that person. That's what I need them to be able to do. So talking about primary search, how we're going to do a search, and then talk about inward opening doors, because they're typically not going to force too many outward opening doors in that bar position. So we really kind of hones in on our training of what kind of skills we need to do. For the OV, it's focus on VES and focus on outward opening doors. Our drivers do the roof. So, the drivers like operating the apparatus and doing what they're doing with that, and then doing the roof work. So it really, those riding positions really kind of dial us in and help us to do what we need to do and get the specifics of the training really dialed in.
All right. So I guess this is probably for Kevin, not Chief Kevin, or I guess Deputy Chief Kevin. How do you track all this training for the career and the volunteer people?
So we use emergency reporting, which we've had for, I believe, about 2 years now. So essentially when a training's run, whoever runs the training is tasked with filling out a training sheet. And they also enter it into the system. I collect all the sheets. I make sure they're all entered into the system accurately, the right way. And then that's just filed. From there, you're able to, through emergency reporting, just by entering it in, you put in who was the instructor, who attended the training, how long it was and what you worked on. And through that, you're able to pull reports on emergency reporting. So you can say, all right, we did training 50 times last year. Like, that was pretty good. Or even more so, if you want to go this route, if you go to a call and, there's an issue with something, and you turn around, and we are asking our officers, when you're in the building, try to run a training. So there's a training done every single day for the most part, in which last year we had more than one done every day. If we had an issue at a call, we could turn around and be like, oh, the guys messed up with getting the mantra started, and we go back and we look and say, all right, well, they never really train in doing that, and are they doing the apparatus checks every day and all that stuff? We can turn around and do that stuff through emergency reporting, and we can also see who the instructor was, so you can pull a report on, hey, Jack, did you run training last month? And you'd be like, yeah, and you pull it up and be like, yeah, you ran 4 trainings last month. So that's that emergency reporting system has been very nice for us. We moved from the Firehouse software reporting to that, and we're able to track a lot more things through that, from getting our equipment inventory and everything.
So what about all the boring stuff, Chief Kevin? All the boring stuff that we have to do to keep people, with like sexual harassment training and all that stuff that Jack doesn't want to talk about. But it has to be done. I mean, how do we track all that for all your career and volunteer members?
It's the same way. We do it in emergency reporting. So we'll just do a class and then log it in emergency reporting as far as who's attended the class, and try to keep up with, driver's training is the same way, trying to keep up with who's doing the requals and all that. So we just enter a log and then track it in emergency reporting.
So, man, I assume even though you're the employer, I mean, you still have all the stuff that the state requires for all employees to do. I mean, like,
Delaware is not not much. We have a little bit of stuff, but not a lot. Yeah.
Well, good. So who wants to answer the driver's training program one? Let's talk about driver's training.
Chief Seminelli's got that one.
So driver's training, I would say, I guess, the beginning of 20, what year is it now? 21. We had our way of doing things. It was very easy for us to, it's very easy, I think, for a lot of places, when one piece of apparatus comes in, to do one match training or several match trainings that cover everyone. And that all your engine operators are covered when a new engine comes in and gets placed into service. But we have to worry about tracking our people who join the company from another place in Pennsylvania, where they were cleared to drive. So we have to worry about what training we're going to put them through. So we pretty much broke down all of our training separately amongst the apparatus. There's an engine company training. There is a tower training. We have the tiller now, so there's tiller training and tractor training that everyone has to go through. Now we do offer like accelerated programs for someone. We have a guy who works in DC. He was able to go through the accelerated in Anne Arundel. They were both able to go through accelerated driver program, because we were able to say, you know what, you work for a large fire department who probably trained you very well to do these tasks. So we're just going to bring you in and just make sure that you understand what our pump is like, and that you understand how everything's supposed to work. And if you demonstrate that, then you're good to go. Every training program has a check sheet at the end of it, just, to say that throughout the training, they're tasked with doing these certain things at the very end, and they passed all of it. The engine training, I think, requires 30 hours of drive time and 15 hours of pump time. The tower training's 18 hours of drive time, 8 hours of aerial operation time. The tractor and tiller training, you need, I think it's 20 hours of tiller time. That's tiller time in the parking lot, then tiller time on the road. And then after that, you have to go on 25 emergency responses. And the tractor times, I believe, 10 to 20 hours of drive time, then you do your emergency responses. All of that is subject to how well someone's doing. So if someone's just not doing very well with tillering in a parking lot and they hit their 10 hours, they're going to do more than 10 hours. It's just how it is. We have to look at all of our people in a certain way to say that, they are all not the same. Everyone's not going to pick up a skill the same way. And in order to manage all of this, we placed certain officers in charge of every program. So we have someone in charge of engine operator training, someone in charge of the tower, etc. The point with that is that these people can employ their own programs within the program itself. As long as they cover the requirements of the training program, they can choose to, in a reasonable sense, train their people how they like to train them. They don't always have to conduct the training either. I could train someone on the engine as long as they're properly entered into the program and approved to start the training. And that's just how we manage it on a certain level, just so it's not have to be overseen all by one person. It creates a chain of command within the program.
All right. So, I know what I'm going to get out of Jack when I ask this question. So I have a feeling at least. So, this seems like a lot. So, I work my 9-to-5 job, sitting behind a computer all day, or I've worked, I think, what Kevin was talking about, these guys that are career firemen and come in and volunteer in their community. And, then I'm turning around and it seems like a lot. How do you manage the time demands of today's people with the expectation of the fire company?
It's just all commitment. It's what you can give. We do. We have guys that come in during the week. We
target the unemployed and homeless.
Yeah. Yeah. We have a lot of younger guys. We have a lot of younger guys that are pursuing career fire jobs. So that really helps us a lot. There's definitely, like anywhere, there's the core group of 10 to 15 guys who are here religiously because they're hooked. They're hooked on the bait. They know that if they don't come here, they might miss a fire. So, they love going to fires. And then we have a gooder, older crowd who does a few days a week here and there. And then we have some guys who come in from distances that'll do, 48 hours here or there, or 72 hours here or there. I think we talked, what did Bob Pressler say? 72 is the max. I think that's where you start to go crazy. But it is a lot of commitment. It's a lot of time. It's a lot of hours. And we do ask a lot of people. But I think the product that you get in return is worth it. And we're upfront with people going in. Hey, listen, I would say our target is about 48 hours a month. We would like at least 12 hours a week from you. As far as staffing goes. So that's about our target.
So Kevin, anybody can comment on this and I could be way off base, and please correct me if I'm way off base. So and obviously you guys know where I'm from and what fire department that I'm from. So I guess it's more or less of a community-based fire department than it is you're attracting members from all over the country with your bait that Jack uses, that, hey, you could be here 48 hours, a pretty good chance you're going to go to a fire. And most of us, if we're young, that's enough for us, but so, is that a fair statement that it's most of your members are not in the community now? They're from outside the community? Or?
Correct. And I've heard you say it before. You said, hey, if you're in a firehouse, I can promise you a fire or a pin job a week.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that was our bait. We're really not community based. And that's like, people take shots at it. Anything. It's like you're in some organization, people are always going to take shots at you. But people took shots at us. It's like, so your men just really don't even care about the community. They're just here to go to fires. And I'm just trying to provide a service. If I'm relying on who will help me provide a service, so I'm trying to provide a service. So, but yeah, it's really not a lot of community based. There's guys that join that are local. But there's a lot of people that join that aren't local too. So we're just, like you said, we have the bait out there. Hey, we're going to go to interesting incidents. We go to, it's steady. And hopefully you get to go to things that are very interesting and go to fires. So yeah, that's our kind of like a hook that we throw out. And a lot, like Jack said, a lot of guys are trying to get into career service. So we'll try to help them, get to that point if we can. Get hired.
I mean, let's go back to even like, when Jack was young before he became a police officer, lost his way and all that. I mean, the call volume in Christiana was not anywhere close to where it is now.
No.
Is that a correct statement, Jack? You think when you first joined?
But it was definitely still busy. I came down for an afternoon one time, my first time ever there. I went to a working fire and I went to a pin. And I was like, wow, is this normal? They're like, yeah, I mean, it's, pretty whatever. It was pretty quiet though. Like it was kept real low. On the flip side, there was a cast of characters, that kept it that way. They didn't want it marketed, and we faced, I mean, I've been here for a little over 15 years. We faced some challenges. There were some very challenging times here. We were laughing yesterday, me and the chief, and I said, you ever think we'd have a tower ladder? He's like, oh God, no way. I mean, so we fought a lot of uphill battles, and a lot of those battles, from the beginning, Brian Reeder, when he became chief, to Rich Perillo, to Kevin now, everyone's been able to just continue to just keep the ball rolling and get us to where we need to be. I mean, you look across the street now, they have that firehouse they're building. It's beautiful. The apparatus that we've been able to obtain, all those different things, it took a lot of work. And it was a lot of convincing and a lot of, no, I promise we are doing the right thing. It took a lot of, we had the same thing. We had a lot of people say, without bringing people in from different areas, we wouldn't be here. So, and I don't know what would, because there's only so much money. And I think we're trying to max that out as much as we can now to work with as many career people as we have. And I think I would be false to not give the shout out to them. I mean, we have an unbelievable relationship with our career staff. I don't know what's in me and Dennis always laugh. I don't know what's in the water here. But we've got it figured out. So, and I think the biggest key to all that was to allow them to grow with us. They have their own leadership and everything like that, and they have room for promotion. And I think all that together has made it a little more solid as I sit here and get off track and ramble on.
And we've had some good, I mean, Chief Reeder was two chiefs before me, and then Chief Perillo was after him, and Chief Reeder now is president, but they all did a wonderful job. Right? Chief Reeder did a wonderful job. Chief Perillo did a wonderful job getting us where we are today. A bunch of hard work over a bunch of years, just overcoming every challenge, and we all get along. There's not that internal, trying to stab somebody in the back to get another position or whatever that. So we all get along, and we all work well together with each other.
So you're telling me the new firehouse won't have slanted floors? Is that what you're telling me?
No, it's essentially a hotel with bays.
So they won't have the slanted
Don't
floors.
say that.
I always felt like my equilibrium was off when I walked in there. So
that's
look, we
what
only
they said
got
about the old firehouse. It was like, it's a nice old firehouse. Like, nah, it was just a dump. It really was. We just needed a new one.
So give us we got a couple more minutes. So tell us some of other than, I guess, the SHIELD program that you have. What is some of your retention tips or retention tricks that you get to keep these people to say? I mean, I've heard retention 2 or 3 times in the last 54 minutes. And that's a challenge for any organization, regardless if you're going to fires or going to pin jobs every week or every 2 or 3 days. So how does Christiana, I mean, obviously the career people keep there because they're getting a check, unless they're going to go to another fire department. So how do we keep the volunteers in the organization?
Buy a tiller truck.
I don't disagree with that.
I'll say build relationships, allow your people to develop, in line with where they should be developing. Don't hold anyone back from growing. Communicate very clearly with everyone. I made a point. I did pretty well with it last year, fell off this year, just got back into it, with sending emails to all of our members every week, just to kind of keep them in line with what's going on. We have people who, unfortunately, I know they'd like to be here, but they sometimes can't get in the building for a month or 2. I think an email every single week to them, just to kind of keep them involved with what's going on, kind of hopefully makes them want to come down, makes them hopefully make some schedule adjustments that gets them down quicker and for longer. So yeah, develop your people as best you can, have good relationships with them, try to communicate with them, give them the resources to want to succeed with the company. That's the best thing you can do. This is all work in progress for us. I'd love to be able to spit off some awesome percentages to you, but I can tell you from 5 years ago when I did a 1-year retention study on what we were doing 15% on one class, 20% on another class. This year, I'm able to tell you that we're doing 33% on one class and 35% on another class for 1-year retention rates. So there's some improvement there, but it's too slow. So we got to find ways to make it better.
The Fire Chief Kevin, in this short 54 minutes, I've seen that we have Chief Kevin over here that is the more, he probably won't like it, the more touchy-feely. And if you need some tough love, we go to Jack. So you have two chiefs that, it all depends on what the
Kevin's harder. Seminelli's harder than me.
I didn't get that from the last 50 minutes. So.
I'm telling you.
He carries a gun most of the week. That's why.
Yeah, I gotcha. So Kevin, what is your statement on this about how we keep people?
Oh, I think it's just like a lot of what they said. It's trying to treat people right. As people get older, they don't have the time, so they're just coming in less, and that's fine. If they can give us, a day a week where they come up for the daytime and staff, that's fine. A lot of the people that move on for us or aren't active anymore is just because they get married, they have families, start having kids, and just can't get away. Shift changes at work or something like that, and they just have more trouble getting down. But yeah, I think Kevin does a great job keeping in communication with everybody, keeping them up to speed on what's going on and what new exciting things we're trying to do. And that, we try to do that too. Is like, we get a new engine on order. It comes in January. So we always try to keep, hey, the building's getting done. We have a new engine on order. We're doing a training facility down at Station 3. So we always try to keep that, hey, this is new and coming. Hey, this is up and coming. Hey, we're going to be doing this. Just to try to keep them interested and excited. And I think a lot of guys want to be down. They just can't be because of their lives and their family. COVID hit us a little hard with guys traveling. Some of their work. A lot of people we have members are in public safety, either police, fire, or EMS, and some of their work got restricted them, and so that hurt us a little bit. But we recover from there. But we're taking it. Kevin said we did like 33% retention. We'll probably take what, Kevin, 100 people in a year, around that.
I'd go just south of that, like 80.
80. So, we're still getting 20 or so people, 20 some people in each recruit class, which just keeps us going. And we usually 3 or 4 years they're pretty active, and then maybe 5 years they start to drain off a little bit as they, get older and get married and get full-time jobs and stuff, or get a job that's in the area. One of our very active guys got hired in Memphis as a full-time career guy in Memphis. So he was a real active guy. Did a real nice job, but he lives in Memphis now, so he just can't get back as much as he used to. But and we're super happy for him that he went on. A couple other guys got hired in FDNY that moved on too. So we're happy for them too. So just like life changes and things go on, and we're happy with that, happy for them. And then we just try to keep the other guys informed, and like I said, always keep giving. Hey, we got this next carrot coming up. Hey, we this next thing's happening. So try to keep them involved that way. And we try to keep the organization as steady as possible, that we're here. So.
Yeah. And I know that, it's been an hour of, and this is a good team. So, I mean, I've known Kevin for a long time. Kevin's just gone opposite. Kevin has decided to be a fire chief after he retired rather than trying to do it. He did it right. He had the family and did all the family stuff, and then did all that right stuff, and then became a fire chief where it's going to suck up all his time. Where he's out of the house. But it says a lot. This interview is just supposed to be with Kevin. Kevin wanted to involve his team, being Jack and and Kevin also, and that says a lot for an organization when they involve all members of the team. Everybody has a voice. We know Jack has a voice, and I appreciate everybody at Christiana. So look, you guys can reach out to they have a social media presence. If you have specific questions for them as a volunteer fire service or how they run their career service, please reach out to them, either on the website or through their Facebook or anything like that. But I think it kind of explained that, but, I've always wondered about how you run the recruit school and how you get checked off and all that sort of stuff. So that's why I wanted to cover today. So Kevin, Jack, and Kevin, I appreciate your time. And from Fire Engineering Hump Day Hangout, we appreciate your effort out there serving the community each and every day. So
No, thank you so much for having us on. Really appreciate it.
absolutely. Anything for Christiana, you guys know that. So.
Thank you.